Hello everyone! In this video I'll be reviewing the 11th Doctor Sonic Screwdriver replica by the Celestial Toy Store. It comes in this hinged aluminum case featuring the seal of Rassilon on the front, but you don't care about that, so let's get inside to the actual Sonic. Now, first thing you'll see when you open the case is it's nestled in a pre-cut form in a nice sturdy foam rubber with a softer foam in the top for padding. I really feel as if you closed the Sonic in this and threw it against the wall, you would have nothing to worry about. This is very sturdy. Before we get on to the Sonic itself, let's have a look at this little plaque here. This one shows that mine is number 33 of 1111. Now, I'll take that out so you can get a better look at it. It's got some nice Gallifreyan text on it, featuring the Celestial Toy Store logo. And one caveat, the edition size has been dropped from 1111 to only 500. This was done after these nice aluminum plaques were made, and they weren't updated, but the number still is accurate. And that number is also reflected in a laser etching on the tube underneath the ivory handle part, which I'm not going to show you because I don't feel like taking the whole Sonic apart. Now, when the Sonic comes, underneath the plaque is where the battery can be found, as well as this little bonus, which is a spare emitter lens in red to replicate the red setting that was used by Matt Smith's Doctor just a few times. It's a nice little bonus. But moving on to the Sonic itself, because really, who cares about a case? So looking at the Sonic, it is a work of beauty. Just absolutely stunning. Starting with the emitter lens, as you can see, it's got some nice marbling in it. It lights up at the tip, which is accurate. Down here does not light up on the show. All these beautiful small details have been replicated. The claws are just the right shape. The little hinge brackets have had their corners knocked off for a slightly rounded appearance. Moving down, there's a very nice thickness to the knurled section here. Very visible step. The knurling itself is very pronounced, fantastically etched in. The size is perfect. Now, the four original props had varying sizes in their knurling, but this is the most pleasing to me. The copper struts are held in here by brass rivets, and the rivets are nice and flat as they were on the original props. Later props had fatter rivets that stuck up more and just weren't as aesthetically appealing. All this is real, pure copper and aluminum. There's no like cheaper metals plated here. This is all the real deal. It feels very nice. In the cage section, you have no visible gaps. There's, no real wiggle to speak of, just what's necessary to allow for movement. Looking at the handle section, it's just a beautiful, beautiful leather. I'm not sure what kind of leather it is, but it's very supple and soft. You've got the correct activator switch here. The handle is very slightly yellowed, and you can see the machine marks in there. If you're unaware, the original prop had this handle custom machined, and then the machining marks weren't cleaned up, probably due to the time constraints of having to build the first two props in a week. But then the subsequent ones were molded off that master, and those machining marks showed up in here, And as this was cast off that same original master, it has the same exact machining marks, and it's just simply beautiful. Moving down, you've got the pommel section, and this is replicated from the original props as well, so it features this hinge that is not on the later props, and it opens to reveal the red button. If you have had the original CO toy, you'll be familiar with the red button. But it was never actually seen on screen, but it was on those original 4 props, because originally the Sonic was intended to be used like this, sort of Maglite style. And then the extension was meant to be done with the thumb, which is why the knurling's there. But Matt Smith had other ideas. He decided he was going to hold it like this and flick it open like that, which, you know, broke a bunch of Sonics, but whatever. So even though this button was then relegated to being non-functional, as it is here, if you've ever seen a picture of the original, and not a lot of people have, I have, and I can assure you that it's red like that with that black swirl in it. It's just perfect. Held together with strong magnets, and it does not come open when you don't intentionally want to open it. So that's good. Now, the Sonic itself is weighted very nicely. Anyone you hand one of these to will immediately go, oh, didn't expect it to be so heavy. Everyone, every time. It's also weighted really nicely if you're the type that likes to give it a spin and a flick. It just naturally sort of lands in your hand, even if you're not really looking at it. And the flick action is the crown jewel here, people. It's amazing. It feels nice. It sounds nice. It's got a real weight behind it. I'm just going to flick this up by the microphone so you can hear. And it's got a little vip sound built into the motion, somehow machined in there to give it an approximation of the little sping noise that was put in post when the Sonic was extended. The core here has a nice pearlescent effect. I don't know if you can make it out. Now, as on the originals, there was a master swirl pattern made from which all the cores were milled from. Mine sadly came from a piece with almost no swirl in it, so I don't really have any swirl in mine. But it's not like the swirl was ever really seen on screen anyway. The ones that do have swirl are super beautiful though, and mixed with the pearlescent effect make me really jealous not to have one of those ones. There is hand stitching here on the back of the handle, if you can make that out. And overall, it's just a very, very beautiful piece. I have to say, it is my favorite object in my home now. I have had it a couple of weeks now, and I have not been able to put it down. I carry it around with me places like some sort of super nerd. Totally beautiful. There are 2 small inaccuracies that I would be remiss not to point out. If you look here, this little slot in the bottom of the claw, that should be, I would guess, about 3 millimeters longer. That was a decision that was made to limit that in order to give the claws a better action and more springiness. And then here on the handle, where this rounded section here, that's a little more rounded than it was on the original props. If you see the original props, it sort of swoops up and has like a more crisp cut in. But honestly, I didn't notice that until I was looking at photos of the original props right next to this. It took me a while to notice that. The flicking action, by the way, everything's been re-engineered so that it's not going to break like the props did when Matt Smith decided to fling them around. There's a threaded metal construction running through. Battery change real quick. Unscrew that, pop out one single A23 battery. Goes right back in. You'll notice, see this grub screw here? It's the only functional grub screw, I believe, on the whole Sonic. The original Sonic was held together with grub screws for the most part, but the threaded construction has made the grub screws irrelevant here. But it should be noted that they are still there. There's one. There's one. There's one inside this claw. There it is. And then there's one in the lens. Somewhere there. And those are all now completely, I think all, completely cosmetic. I think any of those, if you take them out, everything's still going to stay together. They're just there because they were there on the original props and have been kept for the sake of accuracy. This one needs to be taken out in order to slide this off the tube and reveal that serial number. But then it still doesn't give you any access to any of the internal wiring or electronics. So no need to go messing around with the internals of your Sonic or accidentally getting into them when you don't mean to and messing something up. Again, I can't stop flicking it. It's just amazing. Totally perfect. The sound is nice. It's definitely audible in most situations. It's not as loud as it's going to be on the CO toy or the Wand Company Sonic, because those were made with concessions to accuracy in order to allow the sound to be louder. This has no concessions to accuracy, and being made of mostly metal and other materials that don't really allow sound to pass through, a pretty loud speaker's been put in there to overcome that as much as possible, but it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be as loud as it could be if one were to take concessions with accuracy. But accuracy is key here. It's key with the Celestial Toy Store, and it's allowed him to create probably the most wonderful replica I have ever handled in my life. So that's that. And if you'd like to see any of the other reviews, click on one of these boxes for the corresponding Sonic, or hit the box for the Ultimate 11th Doctor Sonic Screwdriver Showdown. Thanks everybody, and don't forget to subscribe.